Welcome to Gumball Love. I'm Melissa Ledger, professional relationship coach, creator of Gumball Love and the Back to You Academy. If you're ready to stop the cycle of toxic men, get through the breakup once and for all, and finally get back to you, you are in the right place. This journey is about healing your heart, and you are encouraged to take the pace that is just right for you. In the process, you will build a foundation of confidence and strength that will make you unshakable, I promise. So get ready to level up your mindset and your lifestyle as you awaken the seeds of greatness just waiting to burst into full bloom. Let's do this. Welcome back to another episode of Gumball Love. I'm your host, Melissa Ledger. All right, today we're going to talk about the thousands of dollars of therapy that I got and the notes that I took from my therapist and understanding what that actually means. Okay, so I want you to first think about everybody you talk to and just kind of divide them into groups. Like, okay, and the best way to look at this is grab your phone and look at who you text and who you call. Who do you talk to on the phone? Who do you text? Number one, that's going to tell you who your inner circle is and the people that you think to go to. And then I want you to ask yourself, out of those people, what do they get to know? Do they get to know your personal stuff? Or who gets to know what? Because we do leave things out with certain people. You know, when I go walk Charlie, I don't tell people my innermost worries and deep thoughts, right? Like, we have casual interaction, then we have maybe coworkers. So your coworker, you might have a little bit more in-depth conversations. Maybe, I've had coworkers in the past where they become really good friends and they're still my friends today. So you have different levels. Okay. So obviously, it's like, okay, Melissa, that's pretty freaking simple, but it's really not that simple because I'm just putting my hair in a ponytail on this podcast. It was driving me nuts. Okay. So I want you to think about when you're talking to people, let's just say at work. And one of the examples of a boundary, I've used this example many times, but it was when I first discovered Gumball Love. And my coworker would just come and sit in my office and he wouldn't say anything. He would just come in and sit. And we had a close enough relationship where, it was just like, hey, what's up? But, the conversation would start like, how was your weekend? Great. But then when I would start to talk, he would do that, like that kind of closed mouth yawn. And it'd be like, okay, if you close mouth yawn me, you guys know I hate the closed mouth yawn. It's like, get out. I'm done. I'm not talking to you anymore. And it was just like every time. And I would think, God, you come over here and then you ask me a question and then you're immediately not interested or you're just so exhausted at the answer. But then when I would talk about him, he would sit up straighter. He would be more engaged. He would be listening. He would be able to continue the conversation. So I remember sitting there thinking, I used to think I was boring, but actually he's boring because it has to be about him in order for him to be engaged. When we're actually interesting people, we are interested in others, especially the people we really, hang out with. This was somebody I talked to all the time. And it's not to say that he was a complete jerk. It was just that it took more work for me to engage him. I had to make it more exciting. I felt like I had to pick and choose what I left out and what I put in. So essentially I couldn't truly be myself because being myself made me feel like I wasn't as interesting. So that's an example of when I drew a boundary, because when I discovered that if I gave him a gumball, he was engaged, but if I didn't, he was bored, I chose to withhold information from him or just no longer share. And it taught me right then that I have to put value on what I'm saying. And if I'm going to allow his reaction or lack of reaction to affect me, or if it does affect me, because you know what? It does. It's hurtful to feel like when you're sharing about yourself that they're not interested. And so I just decided to stop doing that. When I stopped doing that, I noticed something. The next time he would come over, how was your weekend? I would just say, great. How was yours? And sometimes I would choose to talk about him, but other times I would just kind of see where the conversation would go. I stopped overdoing it as far as effort, because sometimes I would tell him something important or like something going on in a relationship or something family related, and it would be frustrating because I felt like I just couldn't take the time I wanted to get it out. It was just like I always felt pressure to be something I wasn't. So when I took that away from him, I noticed that in the conversation, I now refer to this as preserving my energy, because I felt like, I just feel like relaxed sitting here with him now. Where before I felt like, da, 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 here's my move. Hey, how about this? Hey, yeah, da, 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 da. That's why I felt inside. And it was just exhausting. It's like, who are these people? Let me just, as a note, it's just like, I get so irritated sometimes thinking back to those times, just like, who is this guy? Thinking that and really, he's a very nice guy actually, and he doesn't really think he's super cool, but in reality, I'll just tell you, he was actually really bored with his life. And so I think that when he heard anyone talking about things that were exciting and things they were enjoying, it was frustrating to him because in a lot of ways he had made choices that trapped him into feeling bored, or not trapped him into feeling bored, but trapped him into feeling that his choices were limited. So I think a lot of jealousy came up. And then another perspective, that when I preserved energy, I was able to observe. Okay, so now I'm not I'm not doing that. I'm quiet inside. I'm sitting there because I'm not choosing to give this information and try to give it in an entertaining way. So now I'm sitting there and I have a little fence up. Now you're not getting in there. Not going to tell you. I'm going to preserve that energy. So then in that observation, all of a sudden I was stronger. And I really didn't expect that. My first choice was just like, okay, screw you. I'm not going to sit here and give you gumballs now, because then I had that little power in my mind. Like, oh, now I see if I give you gumballs, there's a reaction here. So then I sort of realized I was in control of the situation in a certain aspect, where I didn't really have to do what he was asking me to do, that I could sit there and preserve my energy. So preserve and observe, and then decide if you're going to engage or how much you're going to engage. I can't tell you how many times in corporate America at trade shows or meetings over the years that I've had gumball love in my head. I've been able to realize at a cocktail party where I have all gumball guys around me. And in that setting, let's say it's a networking meeting, I would realize these are all gumball guys, and they are not going to appreciate my interest or me investing in them at all. So I could know, you know what, in this situation, it's not worth it. I can go home. I can go back to the hotel and relax and order room service, because this group of people is not going to appreciate my interest and my investment. They're just going to chew them up, eat it all like gumballs. And at the end of the night, it's just a bunch of chewed up pieces of gum. And that my effort was worthless. So on the flip side, I really started, there was another friend of mine that sat at my desk, or she sat right next to me. And she would listen to me completely. It was like it was a total opposite. And I realized I was kind of taking that for granted. And I also realized that even though she was listening to me intently, I was still rushing myself, because I was in the practice of rushing myself with the other coworker, assuming that I was boring. So I was assuming that she thought I was boring. And she didn't think that at all. She enjoyed our friendship because, we started to build a friendship that we still have today. So I started to make that differentiation right at that moment. And both people were not bad, or he was not a bad person, but she was the better quality person. She was the one that I could really talk about things that were important to me. And she would sit there and give me great eye contact, stay engaged until we were done. And then we could actually go spend time in a social setting. And then I realized, oh, now I'm building something with her. And this might sound like, okay, duh. It sounds simplistic. However, I always felt like no matter who I was with, I was building something. And I wasn't really seeing, like, I was enjoying the good times with the person, like when they were high enough on the gumballs and we could enjoy each other. Because again, they're not bad people. It's just that they don't have the capacity to really connect on a deep level. But I would think I could push that capacity. I was thinking I could stretch them by investing. So I was feeling like I could put more into that container and grow the size. So if, you've ever heard, you can't, you can't have something about pint size, something in a gallon size. Like, I think it's mindset. You can't talk to somebody. You can't put your gallon size dreams into someone who has a pint size mindset. And the same is true for the capacity. They have a pint size. So I was trying to stretch that into a gallon and it just wasn't there. And so such a key thing. So when you think about boundaries, I just want you to look at everybody you're texting and then think about the last situation or your current situation about your boyfriend or your ex, the person that maybe, I just talked to somebody who joined the academy today, and she's going through a situation where, there's an ex or there's a guy that the family doesn't approve of. And so I told her, it's just kind of a weird situation to talk to family and friends about, because they are all of these different people have different capacity levels. They all have a different kind of experience that they're bringing to the table. And so sometimes they're just not the best resource to assess this kind of situation. And so we go to them with this expectation, but they are limited in their capacity. And then we're trying so hard to gain their approval. So this is kind of a lot, but I want you to really think, okay, look at everybody you're texting. Who are you trying to gain approval? Because this is the way I think of boundaries. Sometimes I get really angry because, a friend or family member isn't buying into whatever I'm conveying or whatever I'm, quote unquote selling. And then I have to stop and ask, am I trying to get their approval? Am I trying to, quote unquote, win them over because I have this desire because I need them to tell me I'm okay? So sometimes we don't have a boundary because we're still looking for that person who has been toxic, who has been terrible to us. And usually this is family, right? Or close friends, but family's family. And there's forgiveness, but we can't go back and ask for approval from people that have not really been investing in us or have the capacity to invest in us. Okay, so that was kind of a tangent. Not really a tangent, but I didn't follow my notes here, but the notes will kind of review what I just discussed. So my therapist would tell me, when it comes to family and friends and people you have a history with, and you go to therapy and you're like, okay, here's my story, and here's all the actors in my life, and here's all the things that they did. So he would tell me, look, you can't just let them off the hook and say, okay, I forgive you for everything and you're now wonderful. That you have to look at them and say, yeah, this person caused damage. I always like to draw the analogy to a physical item. Like, let's say your insides or your heart is like a house. And you can look around and be like, okay, yep, that person broke that window. Yep, that person stained the couch. That person, pulled the drapes off the rod. And you can look around and you can assess the damage and you can look at who did it, right? So it's sort of who's caused the damage in my life? And I think it's important that we look at that. it is very important that we look at that. However, then we have to, he said, don't let them off the hook. Consider the damage. But then consider the capacity of that person. And he also said, actually, before you consider, or in the process of considering the capacity of that person, that you also consider where they came from. Where did they learn how to love? In some cases, I realized I was expecting somebody to love me in a way that their parents had no clue. They weren't even, there was no way they could have loved me in the way that I wanted them to, because their parents were very cold, impersonal, and not loving at all. So sometimes you look at a person and go, what did they have? What do they have to work with here? And what is my expectation? So that's the fourth thing probably the fifth thing is adjusting your expectation of what they can really give you. So let's say you go to somebody and you're really struggling with your relationship. And they might be the person that is like, I just can't even believe that you put up with that. How do you put up with that every day? It's really ridiculous that you're dealing with this on a daily basis. What is wrong with you? And then your response is like, well, and then you start doing your sales pitch, right? So a person that speaks to you that way, it's not that they don't love you. It's that that's where they come from, right? They had their upbringing. They bring only the materials that were given to them by their parents. And it's only those of us that seek out outside counsel, so to speak. We have to go seek out therapy. We have to, if we do the personal development stuff, which takes years of reading and journaling and therapy. This stuff is not easy. So you're the kind of person that does it. That's why you're listening to this podcast. I think people that are listening to podcasts are generally people that want to grow. They want to learn. They like to hear different perspectives. And so you're in that camp, but you're talking to people that aren't in that camp, and you're trying to sell them, and they don't have the knowledge that you have in your head. They don't get where you are. So we have this expectation that's coming from a place that it's like we're expecting the gallon size from a pint. So we go if you're the gallon size, you can go through a pint real quick. And so you're sitting there like, come on, where's the rest? And they're like, what? So, and in essence, we're expecting too much from that person. So when you expect too much from that person, you are what? Constantly disappointed over and over again. You're going to be disappointed because you go there expecting a gallon and you get a pint every time. And that is really hard. That will be heartbreak, because if you go to a parent or a sibling or even your best friend, and here's the thing too, if these people are gumball people, once in a while you catch them when they're having a great day. And in that great day, they give you that full pint of what they've got. It's like they give you everything, or they may even stretch it a little. And you're like, yes, this is exactly the kind of, this is when, you love it when they get like that, because they're so awesome. A lot of these people, just to ruin my analogy, but I feel like a lot of people can increase their capacity. And so we see that potential in them. And then it's really frustrating when they choose not to do it. They're just going to stay the way they are. And you're like, come on, if you could just only, but they haven't listened to that podcast. They haven't watched that YouTube video. They haven't read all of the books. They haven't gone to therapy. They haven't had other conversations like you're having with other people. They're not willing to do that kind of stuff. It's like the girls that are in the Back to You Academy. The academy is the kind of woman that's like, okay, I'm ready to do that extra stuff that most people won't do. It's an elite club. That's why the price point is where it is, because you got to put skin in the game in order to invest the time, because you need to be serious about it. Because this is my whole, the Back to You Academy is basically everything I learned in this succinct, organized package. So you go through those audios and you're going to hear the whole process, all this stuff wrapped in a pretty bow. Plus you get the group coaching and the one-on-one coaching. So you can organize a lot of this. And, a lot of people tell me that their therapy with their therapist is a lot more efficient because they're able to organize their thoughts better. If you come to a therapist with your thoughts organized, you journal a lot. My therapist he asked me when we very first started, do you journal? And I said, yes. And he said, okay, good. And I was like, why? What does that matter? And he said, well, if you can journal, that means you can process your thoughts, which is going to advance your speed when going through therapy. And I was like, oh, and it's so true because you're able to put your thoughts on paper. But see, all this stuff it's what a lot of people aren't doing. And it doesn't make them bad people, but we have to sit on the other side and go, I'm not going to expect them to be something for me that they cannot be. Okay, now, here's the other thing. What is this person able to give you? So I want you to, again, look at your list and write down the people you're texting. You might find that some of the people that you really should be talking to, you're not texting. You're texting and calling the ones that you need the approval from, that you really shouldn't be trying to get approval, because to get their approval requires an exhausting sales pitch that you've given over and over and over again, or you have to give it because every decision you make, they're like, I don't know, because they're insecure. So they have to kind of lord over you or, act like they're the authority. And then you're always offended. Think about people that offend you a lot, irritate you. Also, I want you to start noting something. When you are in, like, I'll do this. I'll be like, I'll get up in the morning and have my coffee and my green juice, go to the gym, be super like high energy because I'm in my zone, because my daily routine puts me in a really positive mindset, in a growth mindset. When I'm really on my game, it's like everything is flowing. My dance lessons I'm really, really, really on my game right now. It feels so good. Like my dance lessons are just killer. I'm really tweaking my my nutrition and my health and vitamins and just I don't know. It just feels like this whole flow of wisdom is coming. And I've been praying for wisdom just to be able to get clear on what I need to do for my body. So then I'll notice that if I accept a phone call from someone, if it alters that and can derail it, or if I turn on the news, that can derail it. So we have to look at what is it that can take me off center? What keeps me on the interstate? If somebody makes you get on that exit ramp, really evaluate what you're doing there. You're there for a reason. So what are you doing there? Okay, so now there's another really great book. And to be honest with you, I have only referenced this, and I was referencing it again. And I realized I really need to just dive into this book. And it's called Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. This book has been around forever because I've had it in my bookshelf. Let's just see what year this was published, 1992. Wow, it's a classic too. So in this book, he says that the type of boundary problem paralyzes people. It paralyzes people's no muscles, like the ability to say no. Whenever they need to protect themselves by saying no, the word catches in their throats. This happens for a number of reasons. The reasons they list: fear of hurting the other person's feelings. So you're accepting the phone call because if you don't, they're going to get upset. And a lot of times the people that can affect your vibe, the people that you're really trying to get the approval from, they demand your attention. They are the ones that are like, where are you? I called you, went to voicemail. What's the deal? Because they want to feel in control. So when you put up a boundary, or when you all of a sudden you're in control of when you communicate with them, it's going to be an adjustment for some of these people. So, but we have a fear of that. We don't want to hurt them. We also feel like maybe that person will abandon me. We don't want to lose our connection with them, and that can feel scary. So we hang on to it at our own detriment. The next one is a wish to be totally dependent on another. So that one's probably a little deep that's another podcast when you wish to be dependent on another. Or maybe you are dependent on them for your decisions. And it doesn't mean that you're a super weak person, but I've been guilty of this. This is the one thing that, I have my family, we are a committee vote family. Every decision we make, we kind of make together in a lot of aspects. And it's been something that I've worked on growing out of, because it's not even necessarily a bad thing, because a lot of times if I talk to my mom and sister, it's a very collaborative discussion. But then I've asked myself, why do I feel like I need to do this? I don't need their permission. And sometimes it's but it's like a permission or approval. And it's just a habit that I've gotten into over the years that I've worked on breaking. And it's something we're just always, we always we tweak this area and then we notice something else. So it's never going to be perfect. It's always just going to be an evolving process. The next one is fear of somebody's anger. They're going to get pissed off. So I'm just going to answer the phone because they're going to get mad. So I'll just do what they want. And then, you get all you get all edgy because they're going to want something. Or if they're immediately irritable, they're the kind of person that complains about everything. Oh, I'm just stuck on traffic. It's people that complain about the same things are yes, you commute every day. Yes, there's traffic. At some point, figure out a way. Listen to a podcast, do something, listen to great music, use your time. But to complain about it every day, it's then you start trying to be that person's pep talk, and that's also exhausting. And so if you are going to wean yourself off, try not to, if let's say you call and you can feel them altering your mood, you can just, oh, that's too bad. Bad traffic, huh? Yeah, I'm just really irritated. Oh, is there a wreck or something? No, I don't know. I can't see this far ahead. Huh. Well, that sucks. But also me would be it's probably about, and I would be there's probably an accident. It'll clear up. Let's see, what time is it? And I'd be trying to analyze the whole situation to help them get through it. So why am I all of a sudden in the car with them trying to figure it out and trying to make it easy for them? But instead, if you choose in that conversation to not win them over, not gain approval, listen and acknowledge, but also preserve your energy. Okay? Because sometimes, even though it could irritate you a little bit, if you don't let it take all of your energy, then you'll be able to hang up the phone and then your energy will rise again. Isn't that just a lovely, so then sometimes you have to figure out, what does it take for me to get at my optimum? Because if we look at all these people and let's say you have no boundaries, then anybody can come in and out, right? If anyone can text you and get to you, if anyone can call you, if anyone a lot of times, one of the first things I would recommend is look at your notifications on your phone. Do you let every Facebook Messenger, every Facebook every Instagram, every single thing is your phone just dinging? Because that's a boundary you haven't put up. Because if you're really focused on something, if someone hits a like button, it can just come into your life, and it's like a door that's open. So close that door. Make a decision that if I want to look at Instagram, I want to look at Facebook, or if I want to even look at my texts, I don't even have text notifications. I look at my phone enough. My phone's we all are looking at our phones, but sometimes I just want to finish an email without something dinging. And so the only time I really have my notifications on is during my launch week with Back to You Academy. I want to make sure I'm getting back to all of you guys. But after that, I turn it off because it's just I need to put the boundary up. So it's so important that we look at, okay, who can get in and out? What messages can get in and out? If you even have news headlines that can pop up and ding, you don't need to know that 10 people were killed in a blah, blah, blah. It's like, I know it's unfortunate, but people are going to die every day in accidents all over the world. But it's like, why do we have to consume that? If it doesn't affect your life, it's not in your neighborhood, you're not going to do anything about it. So you can stop and be like, oh man, that's right. It's like, I don't want to say who cares, but I mean, there's billions of people. We can't stop and care about every tragedy. It's exhausting. So again, that energy thing, how do you preserve your energy? Do you know that, in the last even couple of years, I've had to really assess who takes my energy just to produce content for you, to show up on Instagram stories, to get to my dance lessons, to be effective in my job. I mean, all of these things require energy. And so as I would look at different people and I would see that they were taking away energy or getting up at 5 a.m., being in the 5 a.m. club the past year. I can't believe it's been a year. We did take a summer break though. But still, like, for the majority of a full year, I've been getting up at 5 a.m. And so my energy, I have to really manage it. I'm like the queen of the power nap now. I can like power nap for 30 minutes, lay down. Like, it's amazing when you're looking at a screen all the time, you can just power nap and then 30 minutes without looking at a phone or a screen, you can power right back up. And so just putting more working hours into my day has forced me to now look at where I spend my energy even more, because I know how long I want to be able to work, and I'm not going to be able to do it if I exhaust myself on phone calls. So I have to decline calls. I have to say no. And yes, some people get irritated, but if they're that irritated, they aren't investing in me. So they're just there to take. You know what I'm saying? And so that does suck sometimes when you realize that about a person, but you realize that's just where they are. So we feel bad, like the rest of the list, we feel like one of them, we feel unspiritual. We feel like I'm not being a good Christian. I'm not being a good person. If I can't just ignore this person. I had a really, you guys have probably heard me talk about this, in New York City, in my neighborhood, I have a cute little dog. Now I have 2 cute little dogs, and people will be like, oh my God, look at your dog. And then some people, New Yorkers are pretty good, but I know this certain people in my neighborhood that will come in. They're really not interested in my life. They're really not investing at all. I've seen them 100 times, and they're just going to take 20 minutes from me. And it means I have to stand there. I have to listen. I have to, yeah. And then their Aunt Martha did this and so. And it's just like, it's a bunch of stuff that I cannot afford to absorb. Can't afford to absorb, because I have to absorb all of your Instagram messages, all of your emails, all of my full-time job emails, conversations in my personal life. So it feels rude. It still feels rude sometimes, but I really just have to be like, so sorry, I've got to get going. And I got a conference call, I get on, I have to just say, so sorry, I got to go. And I've gotten much better at it. And I'll tell you, sometimes you got to look at people coming towards you and be like, okay, this is going to be that lady that's going to keep me here. I mean, sometimes you have to dodge them pretend like you're on the phone. Anything you have to do. And I know it sounds, and it feels weird. And this is where I can tell he's listing, you feel unspiritual. Or, I'm just reading this list here. Fear of being shamed, fear of punishment, fear of anger. And he said the last fear is really experienced as guilt. People who have an over-restrict critical conscience will condemn themselves for things God himself doesn't condemn them for. So we are making ourselves feel guilty because we feel like we're supposed to be this hero for everyone, and we're not. Because, let me tell you, I remember when I had my little sister in Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I met her when she was 12. And when I met her, I was just starting to go through therapy, and I had a gumball guy in my life. And I remember Dr. Stormberg telling me, he said, Melissa, invest in Kayla. Don't invest in him, because Kayla is worth your time and she's receiving any help you give her. You know, you in Big Brothers Big Sisters, you're a mentor, you hang out with them, you're a support system for a kid, right? And you help them through hard times. Her parents were going through a divorce, and so she really received everything I gave her. And the relationship was so satisfying because we grew and developed a wonderful friendship, and we're still close today. However, is that gumball guy in my life? No, because everything I was trying to invest in him, he wasn't receiving. He wasn't reinvesting back into me. And so it wasn't going to produce anything. So sometimes that guilt and that shame we're putting into somebody, it's not going to produce anything. And so I will leave you with this final thought, that when you look at people that, and I've even done this with serious family members, people with big titles like grandma, grandpa, I had to look at some grandparents and go, I love you, but this is as far as our relationship is going to go. And I can't make it anything better than it is. So I'm not going to go over there and spend time because it doesn't produce anything. It stays the same regardless. And that sounds harsh, but I'm going to go over somewhere else where that relationship is going deeper. It is becoming more meaningful. I'm seen, I'm heard, I'm valued. And it doesn't mean that grandma or grandpa don't love me. They do love me, and they love me to their maximum capacity. And I can look at them, they're all passed away now, but I could look at them and go, they loved me with the max that they had. And that's also extremely liberating, because we assume that they have our capacity, or they have our style, or they have our way, and we feel like they're choosing to withhold it. And I realized through all of this therapy, they were not doing that. They really were loving me. I could look back and go, wow, when they did XYZ, that was them showing me they really loved me. And I could let go a lot of what I thought was rejection by simply understanding a limited capacity. So isn't that just amazing? It's so therapeutic, pun intended, as I learned it all in therapy. But I just want you to look at the list of people and maybe make some circles on a piece of paper. Who's in your inner circle? What do they get to know? What's going on in your life? And what's extremely personal to you? Okay, like what's really, really personal? This is why I geek out when people join the Back to You Academy, which if you're hearing this Monday in September, you can join last minute. We start class at 8 p.m. So if you want to eke in 5 minutes before class, you can. I'll send you the link. So if you're hearing this podcast on Monday, it'd be Monday, September 9th, then you can get in. Or if this is in October, November, or December, we'll still be launching academies each month. So, just feel free to reach out to me and ask me when the next class is, or get on my email list. If you go to gumballove.com, put in your name and your email address, you'll get this whole guide to all of the red flags of a gumball guy. And I worked really hard on this document, and I probably didn't talk about it enough because I'm getting better at reminding people, and just, I don't know, the marketing of this has been a struggle for me because I'm so into the content and so into the subject matter that it's hard for me to then turn around and market it. But I'm getting better because I have to, because I need you to know this stuff because it is life changing. This is so important. My coach, Rachel Luna, said, Melissa, you have to be more urgent about this. These women need to be helped. They need to know this information because they are going to suffer if you if you're just, trying to be all like nicey nice, it's like, no, this is important. These are our relationships. These are our, like, the hurt and the pain that I carried for years that I really didn't need to carry. I just didn't understand where these people were coming from. I didn't have the perspective. So when you change your perspective, my favorite Wayne Dyer quote, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When I changed the way I looked at all the people in my life, I realized, wow, they weren't really rejecting me. I just didn't understand capacity. And so then when I was around them and I understood and had considered their capacity, then I adjusted my expectation to only expect the pint size and to learn to be happy with that and understand that I'm not going to get this whatever fairy tale idea of a grandma and grandpa or an aunt or an uncle or a cousin or whatever I thought that relationship should be. When I really looked at it for what it was, a lot of times it was really beautiful. I just needed to understand where it could go. And when I understood that, then I would really enjoy, and I still do, enjoy the time that I have with those people because they are wonderful. In a lot of aspects, they are really wonderful. And so I think that we have this Hollywood idea sometimes of what this all should look like. And with this person, it's going to look like this. With that person, it's going to look like that. And so then you can look at your life like a spice rack. Some people are a little sweet, some people are a little sour, some people are a little bland, but all together in your life, it creates a beautiful big picture. So I hope you like this episode. Please let me know if you do. Shoot me a DM in my Instagram. I'm at the Melissa Ledger on Instagram. Please sign up for the red flag list. I go through all of the signs of a gumball guy, like every single thing, all these behavior patterns. So you can it's a downloadable PDF. So go to gumballup.com, grab your copy. If you love this episode, please feel free. Please leave a review. I need some fresh reviews, people. I'm getting your comments in my DMs as well, and I love to hear from you. Nothing makes my day more is when I get an email that says, Melissa, I listened to the podcast, and oh my gosh, it really helped me. When I hear that you are able to break up with your boyfriend finally, or able to see he was a gumball guy all along, you're like, thank God. So many people have said, thank you for putting a name to this, because I never really understood what this was and how to identify it. And so this pattern, it's changing so many women's lives. And so if you are on the fence about the Back to You Academy, I really want you to consider it because, girl, this is your life. I don't know what's going on in your situation, but if you at any time want to book a power 30-minute call with me just to say, okay, let's just talk about this. What does this mean? One of the girls that joined, she was like, okay, so, Melissa, I know there's weekly group coaching, but is it a bunch of people that are going to talk about things that really aren't relevant to my situation? I was like, that's a really good point. So you can jump on and ask questions that are related to you and you can jump off. But what you're going to find is a lot of people are going through what you're going through. And then they're going to say things and you're going to listen to me coach them and you're going to be like, oh, I never thought of that. You're going to learn so much. So I wouldn't get caught up in that because group coaching is so powerful. I do it with the mastermind that I'm in. I'm in a very similar style of group, but I do it for how to deliver this content to you. What are the best systems to use? How to market a podcast, like all the stuff that I'm doing for Gumball Love, I need a coach for. And so I hired Rachel Luna, who is awesome. She's been such a lifesaver in so many ways. Her entire team has been incredible. And so I meet in a group coaching session in the same way. And I learn when other people ask questions, I'm like, oh my gosh, I never even would have thought of asking about that because, it's just not in my mind. But now I'm so glad that I'm hearing all these different perspectives because as you grow and evolve and change in your journey, then this is all going to feather in so beautifully. So, and you'll also get so much more content in a more organized way. So the Academy is designed to take you from brokenhearted and in a complete funk all the way to a boss in your life and just killing it. So I take you from tight rosebud bud to fully bloom. I want you to be able to, so I actually broke it down thanks to Rachel Luna again, for she's like, you need to tell people, like, what do they get? So week 1 is mindset. Like, let's look at, I give you all of the gold of Gumball Love, the entire formula, all the secrets. So people have told me, like, dude, this is a lot. This is really powerful. That week, it's like, oh my gosh, your whole perspective is going to be changed. Dating, relationships, cheating, porn. I mean, everything. I go into all this stuff. Then the week 2 is about healing. If you're going through a breakup, if you have gone through somebody cheating on you, there's all this content around healing, recovering from heartbreak, and going through breakups. Then week 3 is about rebuilding your life. So if you feel like, this guy has sucked the life out of you and you don't even know where to begin, it's about that whole rebuilding process. And then week 4 is bloom. This is where it's like, okay, I've gone through this process, and now it's all of the content of building that beautiful life and actually seeing yourself open up and gaining that confidence, right? If we're in full bloom, we're standing there, we're taking in the sunshine, and we have finally not arrived at the destination, but you're going to be at such a better place. So let's say you went through a breakup and you go to, you're on online dating. I'm going to tell you, you'll sit so much straighter on a date. You won't feel like you're wondering if he likes you or not. You're going to either A, know that he's not the right guy and you're going to confidently walk away, or B, you're going to be so confident that you'll actually be able to have fun on a date again and not worry about it. My therapist told me, you don't worry about red flags when you're on the date. You just enjoy it. I just remember thinking, how can I not worry about red flags? But now I get it. It's like 10 years later, Dr. Stormberg, but I finally get it. No, I've gotten it before then. But it was like I finally understood that once you're comfortable in your own skin, you really don't have to sit there and overanalyze. You can just enjoy yourself. And then he would say, reflect later. So the struggle is real. I know it takes a while to get there. But I wanted to give you a framework to work within so you don't feel like you're bouncing all over the place. And you're not texting the wrong people. Don't be texting people about these very personal matters of your heart, because if they are not in the capacity that you need, it can do more damage by asking them for advice. So if you come into the academy, this is where it's all protected. You can do a one-on-one session with me. I don't care if you've hooked up with 10 guys this weekend. It doesn't faze me because I understand exactly how to work with every woman and every single situation. So I don't care if you're hooking up. I don't care if you're doing friends with benefits. I don't care if you're dating a married guy. It doesn't matter to me because I know if you're coming to me, I know that if you're considering this, you are a quality woman. This isn't the life you necessarily wanted to live, but you're here and it's gross and it's dirty and it's messy and you want out, but you don't know how to do it. That's what I'm here for. So let go of that shame and understand that I created this for you. In whatever yucky situation you feel like you're in, that's what this is for. So don't shame your situation out of getting help with it, because I am not that person that's going to judge you. I have huge capacity, especially in this area. I can handle your mess, and the girls in the group can handle it too. This is a powerful, loving, supportive, accepting. I look at the group of women every Monday night and I'm just like, I'm so proud, and I feel so blessed and so fortunate to have this group of women to work with and to know now that these girls have become monthly members. They went through the 30 days and then they stayed on. So everybody's been there for a different amount of time, but they're there, and now I know what I'm bringing you into. Before it was like, okay, it's this new group and I don't know how it's going to go, but everybody kind of feathers in. It's like, hey, you're the new person. How's it going? But it's not like you're the new weird person, like you're going to, I don't know. It's sort of like bizarre how it works, but people don't feel new after like the first time. there's such a camaraderie because we're all so like-minded and we're all trying to get through the same hurdles, and each person adds a perspective. So you know what? You're going to be able to help somebody coming in there because you won't be struggling in an area that somebody else will. And that's my favorite thing, is to watch one girl say, hey, you know what? I tried when I was feeling this way is XYZ. And it's just so cool. My girls are awesome. So I can't stress it enough that I want you to invest in yourself and get into this program. So we start tonight. So if you want to join, it will be September 9th at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then we'll do another one in October. So if you're in a situation and you can really do it, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't really need to wait till October. Why wait another 30 days? Why stay in the mess? Get in there. There's not going to be a perfect time. I just got a new puppy. Do I really have time for a new puppy? I mean, I do, but then I really don't. And I was just like, there's never going to be a perfect time for that either. So I'm just cleaning up dog poop and running. I'm like the poop police because, you know, puppies want to eat their poop. So it's like, oh God. So I'm running around, picking up poop, doing launches, doing live broadcasts, you know, sending emails. I'm doing it all because there's just not a perfect time that all this, it's like life is, what is it? There's the movie Life is in Session. Oh, it was that movie with Jennifer Aniston. Dang it. I can't think of it. With that cute little kid. I almost had it where she gets artificially inseminated. Dang, I can't think of it. You know, where they made fun of that. They make fun of this guru. It says, life is in session. But it really is. I mean, it's like the clock's ticking. It's time. So let's not waste it. If you could go into the fall, October, November, December, and have a totally different mindset by October. And what's really exciting me about the end of 2019 is getting this together going into 2020. Let's go into 2020 kicking ass, not trying to make another New Year's resolution. Let's make 2020, January 1, a celebration that you're at a different place and you're ready to completely level up. All right, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. I love you so much. I can't tell you what it means that you tune into the podcast. And until next time, I will see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening. If you want more information or to schedule a private coaching session, or better yet, to join the next Back to You Academy, go to gumballlove.com. If you loved this podcast, I would love for you to share it with your friends. And if you really loved it, a 5-star review is the best.